Mafia the Old Country is by far the worst Mafia game to ever exist in the Mafia franchise. The first Mafia game that released in 2002 is an open-world action-adventure game set in the 1930s. Players follow Tommy Angelo, a cab driver turned reluctant mobster, as he navigates the dangerous ranks of the Saleri crime family in the fictional city of Lost Haven. Through the events of the game's story, Tommy begins to rise through the ranks of the Saleri family, becoming a made man while they battle the rival Morello family. Eventually, he becomes disillusioned by his life of crime and arranges to meet police detective Norman in order to tell his story in exchange for witness protection and to aid in the destruction of the Saleri crime. Now, you know what I'm going to say. I'm going to jump right into it. The races are terrible. You cannot play it on classic. It is terrible, and I really did not enjoy any of the sneaking or racing in this first game. Now, don't get me wrong, the story is phenomenal, and it deserved a sequel. Now let's get it right into the sequel and talk about how Mafia became one of the best franchises to exist. The storyline for Mafia 2 is a gritty drama and chronicles the rise of Vito Scaletta, the son of Sicilian immigrants. As the game progresses, Vito joins the Falcone family and becomes a made man, as does his best friend Joe Barbaro. The story begins with the player character Vito returning home from World War II. Vito joined the US Army as a way of avoiding jail time for a botched robbery. Vito reunites with his old friend Joe Barbaro, and the two quickly embark upon a life of crime. Their criminal ascension starts with Mike Brewski, a car mechanic who needs a certain type of car to chop for parts and will pay $400 for one that the police are not tailing. Soon enough, Vito, Joe, and Henry find themselves battling with, for, and against around 3 crime factions: the Falcone, Vinici, and Clemente families. Now I know, these names I did not put an accent to, but I'm trying to read it off and not mess y'all up and making myself sound dumb, so just bear with me. But Mafia 2 was one of my favorite games. The way you can dive into the story and get lost into it. There's so much, it reminds me of GTA 4 and how you almost lost Roman, or I forget if Roman dies or not. I cannot remember. I always mess myself up on whether he dies or he doesn't die. I think you're able to save him, but that's not the point. Mafia 2 just brings so much emotion, and the gameplay just adds into it, and it just feels so great. From snow falling in the beginning of the game and you being in the US Army and getting to experience that whole situation, Mafia 2 just adds that substance that you need to be able to dive into and feel like you're in this game itself. It's 1968 and the rules have changed. After years of combat in Vietnam, Lincoln Clay knows there's this truth. Family isn't who you're born with, it's who you die for. Now back from home, New Barracks, whatever the heck, Lincoln is set on escaping a criminal past. But when his surrogate family, the Black Mob, is betrayed and wiped out by the Italian Mafia, Lincoln blazes a path of revenge, redemption through the mafioso responsibility. It will take more than a few friends to make it in this new world. Intense gunfights, visceral hand-to-hand combat, white-knuckle driving, and street smarts will all be needed. But with the right crew, tough decisions, and some dirty hands, it's possible to make it to the top of the city's underworld. It's time to create a new family on the ashes of the old. Joining him are the underbosses Cassandra, Thomas Burke, and Vito Scaletta. That's all you need to know. Vito is in that game. Now that doesn't make it a great game. You know, Vito Scaletta being in that game is just the cherry on the top. But Mafia 3 did something that the other two Mafias didn't do. One, I don't think they had a race. And if they did have a race, it was like a street race. So it felt more like a Midnight Club or a Need for Speed. But besides the point, I need to replay Mafia 3. I don't remember too well about the game. But it also added something that the other two didn't have. Mafia 1 and 2 were very linear. Mafia 3 was on a level that GTA was on. From being free roam, having excess side missions, and the story was even better than, what Mafia 1 and 2 had to offer. Now, Mafia 3 wasn't perceived as well as Mafia 1 and 2. I think Mafia 1 and 2 were about like a 80 or 90 on Metacritic. Mafia 3 was a 67 on Metacritic. So, a lot of the fans probably weren't messing with it. But for the newest, adopters of the franchise, they were loving it. They loved what it had to offer, and they loved the story and how it went. Mafia freaking the Old Country? Oh my goodness, Mafia the Old Country did something that I could not understand, and I'm grinding my teeth thinking about it. Like, how do you start off a story in a mine with a close friend that you damn near thought was a brother, Gaetano, or however you say it in white people talk. I don't know. I can't say it without a freaking accent. But it was a close friend of Enzo's, and he ended up dying in the mine right next to Enzo. And throughout this whole story, you're telling me that Enzo didn't have a flashback or a memory or a conversation about that friend? Now, I get it. Enzo wasn't the happiest person, coming out of that mine and changing his whole life around with a family that he didn't know anything about. Okay? He got respect from this family he knew nothing about. And that's where the story is leading? Like, that's what you want me to go based off of? Now, don't get me wrong. Mafia, the Old Country, plays very, very well. The gameplay is nice. From the swaying of the guns, of Enzo not being well aware of how to hold a gun or to shoot a gun. It's nice. It's nice to have something that creative in a game. From customizing your horse to customizing your cars, from I think it's Vito's 1911 that's in the game. And I think they had Tommy's, it's like Vito or Tommy's taxi in the game. I don't know. That's all nice. That's cool. You want to add stuff from the other games to make it, feel homey. But you also, I remember when you dropped this game, the creators of this game talked about how this is not going to correlate with any of the other mafias, which is fine. They wanted to do their own little thing, make something that didn't have to correlate or didn't have to have characters from the past or whatever. It made sense. Old time Sicily, that was nice as well. But Mafia the Old Country just misses the substance of the story. And for me, that's a loss. You're missing out on so much from this game that it doesn't make sense. Like, the story is fine. It tells it. The story is told very well. But the substance of the player's actions or the player's history or whatever, it doesn't make sense. How do you lose a best friend in a mine that died right next to you, and you don't talk about him or bring him up or anything? To me, that's kind of just lame. You try to make it into a love story, and that's cool too, but really, like, oh man, I thought it was so lame. This game, I don't even know how to talk about it. I'm so lost, and I know I've only played it one time, and it will probably be the one and only time I play this game. Mafia 1 and 2, shoot, even 3, I'm going to go back to 3 and finish that game up, because I think I only played like 30% in. I would say about like 40% of Mafia, the Old Country, it's good, but it doesn't grab my attention. The story was decent at best. And if they didn't make a new one after this, I would be totally fine. If you said this is it for the Mafia franchise and you didn't make another one, the way that you guys released Mafia: The Old Country, it just doesn't hit for me. And as someone who's played damn near all the games except for 3 all the way through, it's a letdown, and I would rather not. Let me know what you think down in the comments below. Subscribe if you're new, share this video to a friend, and I'm gonna catch you on the next video. I'm out.